Hey guys, Justin here. Welcome to the Roval. Now, I may not be a road guy, but I'm an ARCA guy, so I think I brought some decent pace here to show you guys and hopefully help you guys out to shave off some tenths or even seconds off your lap time. And also thank you to today's sponsor, Trophy Tracks, for hopping on board for this race. Do you keep a record of all your hunting adventures? Well, you should. Keeping a journal with Trophy Tracks allows you to hunt smarter by helping you decide where to hunt and why to hunt at specific locations. Trophy Tracks is a free digital journal app that allows you to keep track of all relevant hunting information. Download Trophy Tracks today at www.trophytracks.com. And thanks for them for sponsoring this video.
Only farm official now.
Dude, like all the ARCA races this week are gonna be like sub 2K.
Yeah, well, when my iRating's 2200, that's fine.
Yeah, true.
It gets really easy until you hit about 4K, and then it kind of gets harder, like progressively pretty hard. Like even in like a 1500, a guy at like 3500 would gain like 50, 40 to 50 for winning.
Look what I'm doing now.
You are tracking the weather.
Yeah, right. Man, look at the
Dominican Republic is getting cooked.
They got cooked. 100% with Puerto Rico is without power.
Damn, I didn't even know there was a hurricane going on, if I'm being honest with you. Until you just showed me that. Well, now here comes the wreck fest, now that they've wrecked once and the incentive is off.
Ben, will you shut up?
Damn, me personally, I wouldn't take that level of disrespect, Ben.
Now I hope they wreck.
Alright, I hit a 27.
You hope they wreck it.
Alright, let's take a look at that. So, we're going to be doing just going straight to the outlap here, like we didn't want to really show the whole outlap. So, for the run up to the lap, I slowed down more than usual so I can get as big of a run through the chicane as possible. And we'll go over this turn on a flyer a little more when we come back around. But basically I get the car gassed up as early as possible right after the first turtle, and it should carry a lot of speed to the line. One big thing about this is that when you're coming to the line, you want to make it as straight as possible. So kind of slowing down early and giving yourself this angle that can go through both turtles without going over them, that's going to be ideal. And then clipping the second turtle very slightly is going to help you a lot with rotation. So you see how that kind of kicked me to the left a little bit? I went from kind of pointed towards the wall, but then when I took that bit of curb, it pointed me straight where I barely even had to turn anymore. So that was very good. So we're going to go into turn 1 and 2, or sorry, just turn 1 here, Tum's heartburn turn. So the point that I'm going to use is just after the 3. If you're going by between the 2 and the 3, maybe like halfway, maybe a little closer to the 3 during the race. You can maybe be a little more aggressive for the qualifying lap, but I chose to do this. And so what we're looking for, one of the main things, lessons that I want to teach you guys about the Roval and the ARCA car is that because there's not much power in the ARCA car relatively, we want to keep our momentum as much as possible. So making a straight line out of the corner so that our exit is as long and straight as possible is going to be the best option. Whereas if, let's say, I got down early and tried to hook it around, that would be very slow. So you see, what I'm trying to do is turn down at the last second. And I could even do this better. I know that I was watching some guys a little better than me do this, and they kind of stayed out here a little longer, then almost just right angled it into the corner, which was kind of cool to see. But I'm not quite at that level of comfort, and I think for you guys it'll be a little more reasonable just to kind of take this arc into it. And you see how straight we can make the exit. I know I'm saying straight when we're turning our wheel, but think about it. If we took less of an angle, I'd be turning my wheel and still be pointed at the wall. So this is how we keep up our momentum at the bare minimum. And so now we're going into this turn, and I'm just going to stay on the inside here and kind of stay off the throttle and not let the car slide up. I really don't want the car to slide up here, because if we let the car slide up all the way to the wall, we don't have enough time to get back across and back down for the next corner. So I'm sacrificing a little bit of run off the corner to make sure that my angle is good for the upcoming right-hander. So you see, I don't slide all the way up, but I make sure to try to get very close to the grass. And then, so right now I got here in time to point myself here. And so we're going to dime into this next set of right-handers. So I want to aim essentially for the curb, but not the turtle. For these next 2 turns, we want to hit curbs, but not turtles. So I hit the curb going in. I'm now dragging the brake very slightly, letting the car roll. Very minimal inputs here, just wheel. And then right when I get to the top of the hill here, it's time for me to diagnose what I need to do to hit this curb and not this turtle. So I see that I'm probably undershooting it a little bit, so I can throttle a little early. So see, I pump the throttle a little early so that I don't hit the turtle. In a perfect world, I want to go just straight from a brake drag to the gas. But because I undershot the corner just a tiny bit, just a little too little momentum, I had to pump that gas and then drag the brake to get it on the curb. And now once I hit that curb, that's my cue to start picking up the throttle. So you see, once I arrive at the curb, half throttle, and then once my wheel is straight, we go full. And it's a little loose, but as long as your wheel is coming back straight and you know that it's you're not going to be turning it back to the right anymore, then that's the point where you can start thinking about full throttling. So there we go. I started full throttling and a little loose, but it was very manageable. All right, so for this next right-hander, and apologies, I don't really know the turn numbers. That's kind of on me. But again, we're going to be aiming at the curb, but not at the turtle. The curb will help you, the turtle will hurt you. So a little bit after, right about when the red and white striped curb, or this isn't even a curb, it's a runoff. When this runoff starts is about when I start dragging the brake, about 20-30% it looks like. Then I aim at the curb and then I let it slide all the way up. I let it slide all the way up to the runoff, but I don't want to keep it here for any time at all. I want to throw it off as early as possible and get this really cool diamond. I'll show it again, or I'll show you the line. So once we hit here, I want to go all the way up to the runoff and then immediately off and make that right-hander there super duper straight. So you see right there, and then at this point I am aiming for in between the curb and the wall. I want to almost be touching the wall, but you want to do this in one smooth motion so that you maintain your angle and your momentum the entire time. You see I actually miss a little bit here, but because I'm carrying so much speed, it doesn't matter. But this is probably worth another half a tenth if I were to get it closer to the wall here. So I carry the momentum. I make sure I don't slide up too far. It's kind of a blind hill. Oops, excuse me. It's kind of a blind hill. So if you carry too much speed through here and you get on the gas too early, you'll jump the hill and go into the grass, and you don't want to do that. And besides, we really need to set up for this left-hander now. So I'm kind of choking off the exit a little bit, knowing that I'm carrying a lot of momentum to begin with, and getting ready to ride the curb here. So this corner here, there's not much else you can do besides just wait patiently on the curb. That's usually what I do. So I'm just kind of cutting it as much as possible. And now right here, you could be a little wider than I am here, but you don't need to be. So what I'm going to do is once again, we're going for a diamond here to connect these corners and make them as straight as possible. So we're going to go up to the wall, and then we're going to cut back across, and we'll see why once we reveal it here. So we go up to the wall, and then we want to make this right here all a connected straight line. We want to make this here as straight as possible. The more we arc this, the harder or the worse entry we're going to get. So the secret here is that you actually use a little brake at the last second to rotate your car so that you'll be able to drive up the hill and still turn the car, but still keeping momentum. So here I don't know how I didn't hit the wall here. This is about as close as you could possibly get. You don't need to get this close. And honestly, my angle was a little poor. I honestly want my car to be kind of right here and then turning back across here. But I set up a little bit too inside. That just meant that I aimed for a little bit too early in the wall. So like, see how I got to the wall here? Instead of getting to the wall here, I probably wanted to get to the wall about right here, and that would have helped the angle a lot. But you see, I diagnose a very shallow angle and just do what I can to get it super close to that barrier and still be able to connect the momentum and drive up the hill. Okay, so there's not much to NASCAR 1 and 2. Once you make your way through the gears, so you can brake. I brake around the 5, a little bit before maybe, or a little bit after. It's safe. I know that it's possible to brake at the 4. I don't particularly do that. I don't feel the need to. You lose a little bit of time, but it's like, especially for a race run, I want to be safe. So you see, I broke about, yeah, a little bit past the 5, and then we short shift. But make sure not to short shift first gear too early, because that's how you spin out. So you see, I'm making my way through the gears, and everything needs to be in a straight line. You do not want to do any wheel inputs. No wheel inputs under braking, because that your car will just spin out. Okay, and once my brake goes to a drag, this is when you can start putting in some steering inputs. So anything over 50% braking, it's not a good idea to be turning your wheel at all. But once you start dragging under that, then you can start aiming towards the curb. So I actually take a lot of turtle on the first one. It's pretty consistent. You can just drive through the first turtle and not really have it affect you too much. So you see, I take a decent amount of turtle with the left sides, and I'm still straight. And then the moment your car lands, the exact moment your car lands, that's when you want to hook it to the right. And if you're carrying the right amount of speed and you're still holding that brake, you'll get the rights on that curb too. And then once you can go to half throttle immediately, but you can only go to full throttle once you're able to get this angle here established with your car. You want your car to be able to make the exit without turning the wheel, because that's how you spin your tires and lose a lot of time. So I wait on it until I establish that straight angle. So you see, I didn't establish it all the way until here. Now I can make it in a straight shot, and that's when I go full throttle. Make sure not to forget to upshift. And then cutting this apron here is very important. Don't go all the way up onto the track and back around. That's like 2/10 right there. So just cut it right here. Make a straight line out of it. You see a lot of patterns here. You want to make straight lines out of things on this track. These ARCA cars are boats. They like going straight. They don't like turning. So we will help it out by making it as straight of a line as possible in as many situations as possible. So I actually approach the last chicane here a bit differently, just in a safer way. So this is a little slow. A lot of people, your first intuition is to stay low this entire time. And yes, that is the fastest way. But I found that doing this high line and bringing it down this way really helps negate this massive bump that you get when you're switching lanes. So when you see this crease here, when you jump from one side to the other, you get a huge bump. If you go over that bump with your car kind of more in line with it, so when you would enter this bump going like this, it really locks up your tires. But if you're able to cross the bump like this, you don't lock up your tires as easily. So I'm losing a bit of time here, maybe 1/10 or 2, to be able to negate the effects of that bump. And so finally in the chicane, it's really a YOLO for the hot lap. You want to just go over the turtle here, and then kind of diagnose where you're at. So I took very little. I took too little of the turtle there. I should have taken a little bit more. And now you see the problem is that now I'm really on a collision course with this turtle. And the good thing about these cars is at this point, you can kind of just run over it. So when you go over that last turtle, you can kind of use it as like a hope and a prayer for more or less. If you just clip right here with your left sides, it's really good. It'll help your car turn even. But that's only if you have the angle for it. I didn't have the angle for it, so I decided to just run over it and see what happened. And it was good. So, all right, so that's walk you through a lap, and now let's go take a look at the race. All right, so we finished the race here. We started first in our we started on the pole position in our super nice looking Trophy Tracks car. See it come to the line here, and start is really wonky, but I was able to get a good run. Look at that go. And unfortunately, we were not able to get the win here. We got third. I just missing a little pace here. You saw the lap I did in qualifying. I backed it up with a 1:22.19 in the qualifying. And a tip for everybody, there's only 5 minutes in qualifying for some weird reason. They forgot to switch it to 8 minutes. This might be fixed by the time that this video is out and you're watching it. But for now, pretty much go for one attempt here, because I barely made it to my second attempt by like 2 seconds. I almost missed the lap. So be careful. It's pretty much a one and done in this scenario. So anyways, started out really good. Couple laps here. We were holding off. But Austin was just a little bit faster than us the whole race. He was running, he ran a 1:21 at one point. I think I did as well. But he was just putting a lot of pressure on me. And that made it fairly difficult for me to hit my lines. But I still did a decent job. But even though I hit my lines, my issue was that I was just a little bit too hard back on the throttle. And the later on in the race, I had some troubles turning in. So I would maybe recommend lowering your brake bias down to 67 throughout the race. But Austin here said he was running default, so that's not too far off. But as you can see here, it's just the pressure of having someone behind you that you can't pull away from is a little difficult to manage. You see his lines were a little better. His entries into the oval got a little better over time. Yeah, we just really close to the wall each time. And so I think I just hurt my rears. You can see I got 85s on both my rears here. I think I hurt them just enough at the beginning to put me at a disadvantage towards the end. And he ended up gapping us. He was beating us by a few tenths per lap there at the end. But I also hit the wall once, but it wasn't too bad. So that was all right. I think he took the lead from us. There we go. Lap 5 is when he got past us. And then I ended up getting caught too by third place. And we were pretty even through the midfield, but I was just not taking the last chicane hard enough. He was making up 3/10 a lap on me, and my tires were already a little hurt. You can see here what he does. He just sends it a little farther, gets his lefts right there, and he's just able to go a lot deeper than I am, and he's willing to take more curve than I was. And because of that, he made up a lot of time on me. You can actually see this lap is probably a good one too, but you can see how far away I was at the start. You couldn't even see me, but he's just sending it deeper than I was willing to, and he was just willing to take more of the second curve than I was able to. And this run here doesn't matter too much because the straight doesn't go for too long. And you see here, he was just more willing to take curbs than I was, and this is what allowed him to keep really good pace, 1.28 on lap 8. And 1.26 on lap 8. You see, I was already 1.23.5. I just was starting to lose my rears. They were pretty gone. So that's if you want to be competitive up front, you really want to manage how much throttle you're putting in on exits for the first 5 laps or so. Because I learned my lesson, and we'll go back and try to improve on that. And I think that's really all I need to do to stay competitive here, is to just be smoother on the throttle. It would probably help not being in a defensive position. But you can see here, still hitting good chicanes, but you see off the chicane, there's just too much throttle there. So just smoother on the throttle. You're spinning tires for no reason and wearing them, and it just makes everything harder. You're not going to get drives off. And they'll catch you eventually. So we ended up getting third, finishing 10 seconds ahead of fourth. So us top 3 were pretty distant from everyone else, but I definitely felt off the pace from especially Austin there at the end. So that was a good win to him. Definitely gonna go drive more and try to figure out what we can do. And so you can see here, yeah, just definitely not taking enough of that second curb and that was losing me a few tenths, but at least we looked really good doing it. Thanks for Trophy Tracks for hopping on board for this race, and good to get a podium on a road course. I'm not a road course guy at all, but I put a little bit of effort into this, and pretty solid performance. I would have loved the win, but I knew that I didn't have the pace for it quite yet, but maybe later on. So anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.